So actually, we have a good amount of time to do Q&A. So don't all raise your hands at once. But we're gonna start. I'll probably, I'm just gonna repeat the question for the camera and for people who are gonna see this online. So let me repeat the question before you answer, all right? Okay, so I can't really see. Thank you. Yes.
That was absolutely fabulous presentation. I wanted to ask you about that exquisite clip with Nina Simone. What was the origins of that? Where did you actually see that?
Hey now. Okay. Don't make me buzz that. Get real mean up here. So the Nina Simone video, the origin of that, can you tell us more about that? I'm gonna step down.
Actually, I was going through Facebook and looking at all of the different clips that people were sharing around that time with Ferguson and the indictment, and I had never seen it before. So a friend of mine, I must have shared it on Facebook, and I had saw it, and it was like one of those Oprah's aha moments. You know, she's like, aha. Like, I had one of those moments with that. And it really just explained and expressed what I feel. As a visual artist, I'm not always good with words, but that just really hit it on the nose for me. And so I really enjoy that clip. Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
So it is on YouTube, online people.
Yeah, post it because it was exquisite.
Yeah.
It really is.
I heard a lot of gasps. After everyone was like, "Oh my God!" Yes. Anyone else? Katie Boyds, what is your question?
Can you talk a little bit about your process for your hair series, like how you chose your models, how you sort of interacted with them, and how you chose the storefronts and everything?
So if you could elaborate on the hair series that was at School 33, tell us your process and the whole thing.
Okay, so the hair series is photographed in Lexington Market. I chose that area because it's filled with beauty supply stores, hair stores, wig stores, hair salons, braiding salons, and I really wanted to show the gamut of, you know, ones that were closed or old or run down to more ones that are more modern and up to date and working. That to kind of put a historical reference with how long hair has been a significant part of Black women's lives. So as far as the models go, they are all people I know. And one thing I looked for was basically someone who rocked their hair, whether it was synthetic or dreads or natural or whatever. I just wanted to celebrate hair. There's so much controversy around it. I just wanted to photograph it in its setting and just take it for what it is as a beginning, because this will probably keep going. This is a new series that I just did the end of last year. So when I contacted the models and they agreed to model for me, I said, wear black and white, rock your hair, and pose confidently, or pose what makes you comfortable. And that's what they gave me. I did not direct them in any way as far as maybe lift up your head a little bit or turn to the side a little bit, but their poses are all their own.
Great.
So I have a curiosity. I love the hair series, and I am fascinated in the different aesthetics and styles of especially African American hairstyles, because there's such a wide variety of things compared to Caucasian styles. Of course, we don't have as many synthetic hairs.
Okay, Wesley.
But having my mom had cancer and lost her hair, and her identity felt stripped. And I wonder if you were going to explore anything about cancer and how that affects not just race, but also just a woman's beauty and internal beauty.
So in expanding your hair series, is there a chance you're going to, explore illness in correlation to hair?
Very interesting that you bring that up. My mom died in July of cancer. And I thought about that, and it is a possibility. And it's something that I'm willing to explore. And my mom was a person who took pride in her hair. And, you know, when she started losing it from chemo, she kind of like took it for what it was. And then it went so fast. That was the shocker. We didn't realize it was going to go so fast. It was after her second treatment. And so she lived in Massachusetts, and she came to visit. So I saw her with hair one time, and then the next time I saw her, she had like, you know, it was really straggly. And she said, I want to cut this little ponytail. She said, I feel like I got a little Chinese tail on the back of my head. And my sister, she was a hairstylist, and her husband is a barber. So she said, oh, ask Jay to cut it for you. And so I went to work, and I seen her later that evening, and it was gone. And I said, so how do you feel? She was like, oh my God, I feel so much better. And I was like, okay, you feel better, I feel better. and that was the end of that. So, you know, that whole process of, you know, how we're connected to it and, you know, what does it mean to us is an interesting topic that I would like to explore.
Wes. Okay.
I just, so, in a similar fashion, when my mom started losing her hair from cancer, I shaved it for her. And seeing that transformation from someone that's weeping from losing hair to all of a sudden finding a new confidence in being bald, I would love to find out also how, when we went to find her prosthetic wig to, you know, kind of comfort that, how that changes the dialogue of hair and confidence. And so I wonder if that's just something, even how do you find confidence through wigs and other pieces of accessories?
So in that,
Yeah,
in
sorry.
exploring illness and hair, you know, is there more to it in finding confidence, self-esteem, personality changes with the person dealing with that?
I believe so, because with this model here, she changes her hair constantly, and she rocks her weave, track, wig, whatever she decides to wear, her natural hair. And it was important that I had a person like this in this series. And when I saw these wig shops around Lexington Market, it like hit the nail on the head. So, you know, this is only the beginning of what that could lead into.
I had Twistin at the time she was doing this, so I was like, yes, yes, hair series. Okay, anyone else?
At the beginning of the presentation, the thing with the cave leaves, could you describe that piece a little bit more?
So can you tell us a little bit more about the Leaves series that you had up?
Mm-hmm.
And tell us exactly what that's called.
Okay. This one?
Yeah.
So this piece is called Ordinary Beauty. It's part of a group show that was at Hoko Arts in Howard County. And basically, it was a group show of women artists. And, you know, the curator at the time, Diana Marta, had a vision of just how do you a self-portrait, create a self-portrait. And we also had to make a dress for it. So on the wall, you see my self-portrait, the 15 by 15, and the dress that accompanies it. And so at that time, you know, the show was called Ordinary Woman. And I was thinking about, you know, what's one of the main things women connect with, and it's about our beauty. And it was during the fall time that I started putting this together, and something just went off when I was walking outside and I saw leaves, and I thought about, well, you know, I do work with trees a lot, and I started thinking about the life of a leaf, and you know, it's all nice and pretty, and then it changes, and then it dies, and it falls off, and you know, that whole process of me trying to save these leaves because the show wasn't until January and this was September, I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? So I started pressing them and realizing the whole change and the whole process of watching them change and then fighting with trying to conserve or preserve the beauty of it was just, it just made sense with the whole piece and how women are, constantly asked, or as they age, they're always against odds of their body changing or their looks changing, their hair changing. So I kind of just wanted to explore that and kind of how I can make that into a piece. So I used the leaves as a parallel of being a woman and going through that process of getting older and changing.
Do you feel the difference between the way children see beauty and adults see beauty is the fact that maybe as an adult we know the process of what gets certain things there versus a child?
So, can you tell us your opinion about the differences between a child's perspective and an adult's perspective on beauty?
Yes, I think that when I did this project, I didn't explain to the kids what they did. They're inner city youth, they're around this stuff all the time. And I feel like as adults, when we're raising our children, we project things onto them, help them mold their way of thinking. And, up until a certain age, kids are so colorless or raw or just open with the way that they view the world. And for kids, when I did this project, when I realized what they were writing about, I had did some research about kids being in an environment. If they see that environment constantly over and over again, at a certain point, they're going to believe that that's all that there is. Like they don't see the outside of the ghetto or outside of whatever's bad. So the kids in this project were at that point where 8, 9 years old, you're kind of learning about the world and you're kind of making your own opinion, but you still haven't crossed that line yet. So I think adults do influence kids in the way of what they perceive as beautiful or ugly, or what they perceive as good or bad. And I think this project is a good highlight to show that kids have a raw sense of it before our influence touches them. And if we catch them at that moment before that, then kids in this situation or in inner cities that see ugly all the time or is their everyday norm, like I said, they can see beyond that. And then that can help them have higher expectations or goals for themselves. I hope that answers your question.
Someone in the back. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk a little bit more about the nudes in the beginning? Because I thought those images were striking. I can't imagine sometimes as a woman modeling for something like that. And how did you get the women to model for you?
So the nudes in the beginning of your slides, can you talk more about that? She loves them. Explain.
Let's just say I have great friends that believe in me and trust me. So I was like, look, I got to make something beautiful. And I wanted to explore the body and explore, what us women go through every day. So I asked them, I said, would you model for me? Tell me what you don't like about your body. And they're like, what are you going to do? I'm like, don't worry. Mind you, this is film, so I had no idea what it was going to look like until I processed it. So I said, trust me, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be great. So it was just a one-on-one session, quiet, in the dark, one light, kind of just highlighting. And I had to really be patient and really open my mind and get all of everything outside thinking out of my head and just really look. And the series came together, and it makes you think about things differently, especially when there's no face to it. It becomes universal.
If that isn't trust, I don't know what is. Chloe?
First of all, thank you for sharing that personal story about your mom, and same to Leslie. Thank you guys. I just wanted to ask for you to expand more on the idea that ugly is necessary in life.
So if you can expand on how ugly is necessary in life.
So the work I do, I like to challenge myself. I say it's necessary because it's my inspiration. I work full time, I have a family full time, I'm limited resources. I kind of just have to be creative, more creative than already being a creative. So sometimes that's all you have. And if I'm connected to my work because I want my work to evoke emotion. I want it to make people think. I want people to ask questions. I'm not looking to answer anything. I want everybody to see it for what it is and then form their own opinion about it, their own thoughts about it. So I feel like ugly is necessary because if everything was beautiful, then kind of everything would be the same. Wouldn't be anything to talk about. So it's my inspiration, and it tells the truth. You get to know your own truth. A lot of these projects, I work with people I know or I am friends with or I counter every day, so it's personal. So it kind of allows you to be in your element and self-aware of your space.
Sir. Yes, you. You're the lucky one. Congrats.
So, I just wanted to bring up a very short anecdote. One time I was sitting in an artist talk with a Korean woman who was making work about the conflict between North and South Korea. And someone asked, what would you do if there was suddenly peace between North and South Korea? And first thing she did was laugh. And second thing she did was she said, I'd be out of a job. And that to me was very disturbing because it kind of set up a situation where her art was contingent upon there being conflict. It would be almost like if Martin Luther King had said, I had a memory of a Klan meeting instead of saying I had a dream of little white boys and little black boys playing together. So I'm just wondering, how do you protect yourself, I guess, from having ugly become the beginning and the end? Because that's what I see a lot of times in art these days, rather than ugly being the beginning and then beauty being the solution.
What he said. So how do you continue the theme ugly? It's cliche, I guess, to have beauty be the solution of ugly, but is ugly an ongoing reality, and can you protect yourself and try to make that, or is that something that you're trying to do?
No, it's not. I don't set out to look for ugly, or I don't set out to try and answer it with beauty. I see what's in front of me, and through the process, I create it. And at the end, it is what it is. It's a hard one.
I have to rephrase the question.
So I don't know about protecting myself, because there's always going to be something to talk about. There's always going to be something to show. There's always going to be something to create. That's why we all have opinions. So, yeah.
Good. Great. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to revisit the body series
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, because I think we all did think these photos are just absolutely beautiful. And you said that these were your friends who were very courageous to do these. So I would like to know what their thoughts were on these photos after seeing them. maybe something that bothered them and then seeing it in a light that you took the picture.
So your friends that volunteered courageously to do your body series, what were their reflections on the work?
First they laughed and then they were like, "Oh my God," but but then they were like, "Okay, I get it," and they said, "Thank you. That's interesting. I never looked at it that way. What body part is that again?" Very interesting responses to this, but this is only 3. There's a total of 5, but I think they looked at it more of as a landscape and began to just say, "Okay, that's me," and just take it and own it.
A few more. Miss Megan?
So going back to the dress that you constructed, do you often step outside of photography and work with other mediums, or is this sort of the first time you attempted something like this? Because it's beautiful.
So are you just a photographer or are you a multimedia artist? What are you?
Thank you. No, this isn't the first time. When I started at MICA back in 2009, it opened my mind to photography in a whole nother way. So now I fight with trying to only create photography. I think hair was the first photo-only work I did in a long time. So I do explore multimedia. A lot of them tend to be like installation type work. If you're familiar with Congregate, that was at the Studio Center on North Avenue. That was an installation piece that included photography. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Autumn Leaves. That was at Area 405 the end of last year. That was photo with a little bit of installation multimedia piece to it. So yeah, I do explore. I like to expand and see how far I could take it.
Anyone else? Okay, second question.
Tiffany, it's great to see you again. My name is Danae Barr, and I actually sat on the committee that juried in this show that you have on the slide right
awesome.
now. And I encourage people to come out to the Howard County Center for the Arts in Ellicott City, Maryland. We have a black box theater, and we want cutting edge, types of works and everything like that. One thing I wanted to mention is, well, I'm a big fan of Creative Alliance, by the way.
Shout out to Creative Alliance,
I'm
hey.
doing my membership today again as well. And I wanted to give an answer to the gentleman that was asking about the cancer. There was a photographer named Alicia Cunningham, and she exhibited here at the Creative Alliance a few years ago. And she actually has a new series out specifically dealing with the loss of hair. So keyword her online, and she has a Kickstarter program going as well with a larger exhibition. Thank you.
Yep. That's all you're going to get from me. Anyone else? We have time for a few more.
I was wondering if you could talk about where you're from and what you had to do to transition into being into Baltimore, because it can be a completely different environment than if you're not from here.
So getting personal. Tiffany Jones. Like Oprah, talk to me. So tell us a little about yourself, where you're from, your origins, and how you got to Baltimore.
Okay. I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts, little tiny western city. I moved here in '96, graduated from high school here, and the way I came to Baltimore was my mom grew up in D.C., relocated to Massachusetts, so we have family in like D.C., PG County area. So we came down summer of '96. Me and my sister are 11 years apart. So she came down here, we came down here for vacation, visited, she liked the area. D.C. was too expensive to live in. Came to Baltimore. She was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool. I think I'm gonna move here." And I said, "Oh, I'm coming with you." And she was like, "Yeah, whatever." So August of '96, I was here with her in Baltimore. So that's how I got here. And that whole transition, where I'm from is a very small city, but coming here, it wasn't that much of a culture shock, but I was just so amazed with the diversity of it, and it's a bigger city. I can move around, get around, and I just fell in love with it, and I never left. So here I am, and so far it's been good to me.
We're glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Over here. Hey.
So I was wondering, to kind of expand on what somebody else had asked about the difference between children seeing ugly and adults seeing ugly. I was wondering if during any process of your work you saw a difference between generations and their perception of ugly. And if you had seen that, what do you think has affected the younger generation's perception versus the older generation?
So, seeing that there's a difference between a child's perspective and an adult's perspective on your work, on ugly, is there a perspective in terms of age, generation?
This series here, Black 2012, I will probably kind of fit in with that question, because I asked this question to everybody, no matter what age. So I got answers from teenagers all the way up to 60-year-olds, people who lived through the civil rights movement, people who hadn't. So is there a difference? Of course, the ugly in this is, how people are treated and, race and all that stuff. So I did see a difference. I saw a difference in the younger generation, probably, and it also depends on the dynamics, where they're from, who makes up their circles and everything. So I have one person who responded, and she kind of is like more worldly and didn't really see, like she acknowledges the civil rights movement, but she's like, I think racism, this was back in 2012, mind you, also. She kind of didn't really see racism as a big issue. She's a biracial person. Then with someone who is older and who's been through this, they got it, they understood, and they saw how maybe people of not so young, but 20s, 30s, how they saw, we got it. We are trying to still work through racism and everything. And then but on the flip side of that, this was shown to a younger group, and they got what the older group got. So the older generation got. So it's weird. It's a different dynamic to it, where depending on where you're from, who you're involved with, what you do, their opinions were different. As far as, this series went and the ugliness of it and what it brought to the forefront and how they took that and how they may have moved forward with it. Some of them was like, yes, we have to keep working. Some of them was like, oh, it's not really that big of a deal right now. So depending on your generation and who you're involved with, like I said, in your environment, it changes.
We have time for maybe two more, one more.
Will you talk about what you're working on now and what you have coming up, like shows or exhibitions and stuff?
So what's coming up for you, Tiffany?
All right, so next big project is called A New Day campaign. That is going to be with Peter Brune, again, who is from Autumn Leaves, that focuses on mental health and how it affects our community. And I'm supposed to be working on that with Jubilee Arts in Nora Howell. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be the end of this year. And also working on getting my studio practice going. I'm now going to be a resident of School 33. Woohoo! So that's where I'll be, working hard. And that's it so far. And then when it gets warm again, hopefully I can pick up on the hair series again, because I really want to finish that.
Do you want to go to the last slide?
Sure. That one?
Is there one more? Yeah. There's one more.
Oh.
Look at that. Wow, what a coincidence. You have your contact information.
Yeah.
So there's Tiffany Jones and all her information and where to reach her at. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Give her another round of applause. Amazing. So guys, thank you guys for helping us kick off Creative Mornings for 2015. Thank you for coming out. Thank you to Creative Alliance, and have a wonderful Friday.